Welcome back to Andersen Acres. We're out here with the dogs today. It's a very bright day, so forgive me if my camera works a little off. I can't see. So I'm hoping Tequila's in frame rolling on the ground right now, but I can't really see very well. Anyway, today I wanted to talk about an issue someone had brought up. Somebody messaged me saying, what do I do? My livestock guardian won't stop barking. So let's talk about barking. Unfortunately, you really can't do that much about the barking, and you really shouldn't do that much about the barking. Here's the thing. Livestock guardians bark a lot. Like, all the time. All day. All night. They are, as a group, they bark more than any other type of dog. So they bark more than your herding groups. They bark more than your guarding groups. They bark more than your sporting dogs. These guys bark all the time. Yes, Vodka barks all the time. He does. He's not barking right now, but that's okay. We love Vodka. Anyway, they bark all the time. Barky, barky, bark. That's what it is. Barky barks. Lots of barky barks. So you shouldn't train your livestock guardian not to bark. You shouldn't even try. You can teach them to bark a little less. We're going to play with the cat. So you could teach them to bark a little bit less, but you can't, or you shouldn't, teach them to not bark at all. First of all, it is counter to what they themselves were bred to do. So if you don't want barking, you probably shouldn't get a livestock guardian. They bark. Okay, this is one of the reasons they're not great in cities, because they do tend to bark. You absolutely should not use a bark collar. Bark collars are not at all helpful. Okay, because yes, it'll curb the barking, but it'll also prevent your dog from doing the job they were born to do. So remember, I'm doing videos based on livestock guardians as livestock guardians, not as house pets, we're talking about, these guys are working dogs. They need to be able to bark, because barking is integral to their ability to function. So barking is a part of their job. They don't just bark to hear themselves bark. Some dogs bark to hear themselves bark, not usually livestock guardians. Livestock guardians bark for a reason. They might be barking to communicate with you. They might be talking to other livestock guardians. They might be talking to their flock or herd. They might be warning predators that this is my territory. So, little story. I was walking over down that way with Tequila. Vodka was over here with the chickens. And Vodka barked and Tequila took off. She ran back to him. Because there were 2 coyotes out there in that field that they had to deal with. So, it is absolutely imperative that they be able to bark to communicate and bark to warn off predators, so that they absolutely 100% can do their job. Okay? They might vary their bark in pitch, volume, and frequency to communicate different things. And eventually you might learn to understand what those variations mean. Okay? So those variations do have specific meanings. You'll notice they talk to each other. So I could tell that Vodka's, hey, get over here and help me bark, meant get over here and help me. I need some help. And I could tell just by the pitch and frequency of the bark that it meant, hey, somebody come and help, and that somebody was Tequila. If you restrict the barking, remember, I am talking again as livestock guardians. So these guys, his job is to make sure those chickens in there don't get eaten. Okay? So, livestock guardians as livestock guardians. Restricting the barking puts your livestock at risk, because the dogs can't tell the predators, hey, this is my zone, get out. It puts the dog at risk because they can't call for help. So Vodka can't call for help and he's outnumbered. He's still going to do his very best to protect his flock, but he might be in trouble because he can't summon help. So him being able to call Tequila, or to call me, or to call my dad, or heck, even my neighbor who's quite far down that way, but my neighbor responds to them if they're near his property barking, because he assumes, geez, might be coyotes. We have quite a lot of coyotes. So it's important that they be able to communicate and appropriately summon help. It protects them. It protects the flock. It even protects you. Okay? Because it lets you know when there's something going on that you need to know about. So you should not restrict a working livestock guardian's ability to bark. You shouldn't even try. What can you do to get them to stop barking faster? Acknowledge the bark. Now, I have Great Pyrenees, and what are we doing? What are we doing? We're doing something. Okay, so we are back. Good dogs. So, yeah. Okay, so there were a couple of coyotes. We're okay. We are okay. We're not going to worry about it. We're good. So, thank you. That was them in action. Them doing their doggy thing. Good job, guys. Okay. Yeah, nice burp. Good job. So, yeah. If you... I didn't want to stop them. You don't even try. You kind of let them do their thing. So if your dog is barking, first of all, Great Pyrenees bark a lot more than normal. So if you have a lot of barking happening, what can you do to stop them? Okay, you don't want to stop it, but you might be able to stop it faster. Hi, Whiskey. So if you want to stop a livestock guardian barking faster, okay, you want to stop it faster, acknowledge what they're barking at. So if they're barking at a leaf that's falling, and yes, I have Great Pyrenees, they bark a lot. Sometimes you're barking at a leaf that's falling. So if we're barking at a leaf that's falling, okay, I go over here and I acknowledge that something happened, that there was something to bark at. And then typically they stop. So, hi buddy. You're a big boy. So, yes, good boy. So, just acknowledge what they're barking at. It'll stop it. Tell your neighbors if you have close neighbors. Now, we don't. But if you have close neighbors, talk to them about the barking. Now, often in a livestock situation, your animal noises aren't governed. Like here, it doesn't matter how much our dogs bark. It literally doesn't matter. They can't report us or anything. It's just part of living here. But recommend to your neighbors that they don't yell at the dogs if they're getting annoying. Okay, so if you have problems with neighbors, tell them don't yell at the dogs, because that actually just makes it worse, because if you're yelling, you're actually barking. So then we're all barking. So tell them don't yell at them. Just tell them to give you a call, explain the reason why your dogs are barking. You might have to go get your dogs and even bring them in temporarily if they won't stop. But sometimes if you explain to your neighbors the point of the livestock guardians, they'll actually do really well and will acknowledge that, okay, that's fine. Your neighbors will be quite accepting and will even kind of rely on your dogs to help protect their animals. Like, these guys are fantastic. Like I said, they protect my neighbor's property too. That's what they were doing. Good dogs. Anyway, the only problem might be your neighbors. So, in conclusion, livestock guardian breeds bark. They bark. They can't. That's part of their job. They're barky barks. These are barking dogs. So, don't try to stop it. It's not worth it. If you don't like barking, don't get a livestock guardian. But barking is integral to their ability to do their jobs and to protect your livestock. That's about it for us here today. We'll see you tomorrow.